Ever wish you had like a super powered AI coding assistant? Like right there on your
Yeah.
computer, no internet required, just pure coding power, like whenever you need it. Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today. Open source AI models that can handle serious coding challenges all offline.
It's pretty amazing, and it's moving so fast.
So to really push these models, we thought, let's have a little coding battle royale. We took three of the most popular open source models, uh, DeepSeek Coder V2, Lightyear Coder 9B Chat, and then there's Quen 2.5 Coder 7B. Gave them a bunch of challenges, see what they can really do.
Yeah, it's more than just a competition, though, right? It's about understanding what this tech can actually do. Like
Yeah.
today, what does that tell us about where coding is headed tomorrow?
Exactly. And you can't just run these things on any old laptop. We're talking serious horsepower here. Dual RTX A6000s, 48 gigs of VRAM each. Basically a supercomputer just for AI. That's what let us run all three models at once.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We needed that Dell Precision 5860 workstation.
Definitely. All right, so to kick things off, we started with a classic. Build a playable version of Snake in Python. Seems simple, right? But it shows a lot about how these models think about game dev.
Yeah, it tests that basic game logic, how they actually turn that into working code.
Exactly. So DeepSeek Coder V2, it went with Tickuner, which, I mean, it's okay for basic interfaces, but a game, a little glitchy.
Yeah, Ticket is a great tool, but not the best for something like Snake.
Right. Then there was Coder 9B, went with the Turtle library, the one that's popular for teaching coding. It's very visual. And Lightyear is a chat-focused model, so
Mhm.
maybe that's why.
That's interesting. Maybe the way the model's designed influences how it codes.
Yeah, maybe. But the star of the show, Ken 2.5 Coder 7B, only one to use Pygame, which is kind of the industry standard for Python game dev, you could tell. Ken Snake, it was smooth, polished, even he handled game over correctly.
Yeah, that choice of library is interesting. It's like Quen understood the task on a deeper level and knew what tool to use. Even though it's the smallest of the three, it really impressed us.
For sure. So we wanted to up the ante. Threw Tetris at them. Real-time gameplay, that complex logic, the falling blocks. Tetris is a whole other
Oh
beast.
yeah, Tetris requires that spatial reasoning and real-time processing. Really pushes what we expect from AI.
Absolutely. And, well, Tetris was a bit of a reality check. DeepSeek Coder V2, it tried, but the code just wasn't there.
Even advanced AI can struggle with that spatial stuff. It needs a specific kind of training that these general models might not have.
Right, Lightyear Coder 9B. It was like watching a toddler try to play Tetris.
Yeah, the real-time part of Tetris with the blocks and collisions, it was probably too much.
Yeah. And Quen, our speed demon, turned out tons of code, but full of errors, like watching Usain Bolt trip right before the finish line.
It reminds us that even with AI, coding still needs that iteration. Debugging, refinement, all that, even with a super-powered assistant.
So why was Tetris such a wall? The logic, the real-time element. What do you think?
It could be the training data. These models, they're only as good as the info they're fed. Maybe they haven't seen enough Tetris to really know how to build it.
Interesting. So maybe full game dev is still a bit out of reach,
Hmm.
but we wanted to see how they'd handle more focused coding challenges.
Good idea testing those problem-solving skills in a controlled environment.
Exactly. So we went with CodeWars, a platform with tons of coding challenges, from easy to brain-meltingly hard. See how they handle what coders face every day.
Yeah, CodeWars has a huge variety of tasks. Really shows the strengths and weaknesses of different AI approaches.
For sure. We started with the simple one, move 10, basically shift each letter in a string forward 10 places in the alphabet. Loop back around if you go past sis.
Hmm.
Basic string manipulation, can they think algorithmically?
Like a warm-up, see if they get the basic coding logic.
Right. All three aced it. Ken was the fastest, obviously.
That's good to see. Shows they can handle the basics. Opens up possibilities for automating those tedious parts of coding.
Definitely. Then we gave him a curveball, 1K Kai K. Now this one's notoriously tough, even for experienced humans. Complex math, a deep understanding of recursion. Even I had to look up what recursion was for this one.
Yeah, those higher level challenges are where we see the limits. They can solve well-defined problems, but abstract thinking, creative problem solving, still a ways to go.
Totally. So DeepSeek Coder V2 tried its best, but timed out. Light Coder 9B actually did pretty well, but still couldn't quite crack it.
Interesting that Lightyear, the chat one, did well there. Maybe being designed for human language helps it understand those complex challenges.
That's a good point. And Quen, fastest as always, but even it couldn't solve 1K Kai K.
Seems like even with raw power, there's a limit without a deeper understanding of those math concepts.
For sure. Then we hit them with Prime Streaming PG-13. generate prime numbers as fast as possible. Ultimate test, 1,000,000 primes in just a few seconds.
Shows how important that algorithmic efficiency is. It's not just the right answer, it's how fast you get it.
Exactly. So they could all generate primes, but when we cranked it up, they all choked. Like their little AI brains were melting.
Shows that optimizing code, making it run fast, is still where humans win. We can analyze, find bottlenecks, get creative to speed things up. AI hasn't quite figured that out yet.
Interesting. So they're good with basic coding, struggle with the complex stuff. But for our final challenge, we want to see how they do with a classic algorithm puzzle, finding the median of two sorted arrays. Sounds simple, but there's a twist.
Yeah, it's a common problem, but with a clever, efficient solution. The trick is finding that solution, and we added a time complexity constraint, had to do it in O log m plus n time, basically forces them to find the most elegant solution.
Yeah, like a coding efficiency challenge within a challenge.
Exactly. Tests if they understand not just the code, but the why behind it.
Really interesting. And guess what? All three of them passed. DeepSeek Coder V2 even gave example usage in its code.
Wow, that's impressive. Suggests they're starting to understand the deeper principles of computer science, not just mimicking, but actually getting it.
That's pretty amazing. So we've seen what these AI coding assistants can do. Whip up a snake game, struggle with Tetris, even solve those tricky algorithms. But what does it all mean?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it?
We've put them through some pretty specific tests. But zoom out for a sec. What does this, like the rise of offline AI coding, what does it mean for the future of software, for jobs? Are we like heading towards the robot coder takeover?
Well, a lot of people are asking that, and it makes sense, but I think it's more nuanced than just robots taking over.
Okay, so less Terminator, more what?
Think of it as a huge shift in how we code. Like, imagine getting rid of all those boring, repetitive tasks. Your AI assistant just handles it. Suddenly you have all this time for the big picture stuff, the creative problem solving that humans are like really good at.
So less coders versus AI, more like coders with AI.
Exactly. These models become extensions of our abilities. Like you're coding, you hit a snag. Instead of hours debugging, your AI assistant analyzes it, suggests solutions. You're still in charge, but you've got this incredibly powerful tool.
Like a coding buddy that never needs sleep or coffee.
Exactly. And think about learning to code. Imagine these AI assistants guiding beginners, giving feedback, helping them grasp things faster.
Yeah, that'd be huge. Changing how we teach and learn programming.
For sure.
But let's be real. Some people are worried about, losing their jobs to AI. Is that a valid fear?
We need to take that seriously. But think about it. Every big tech change has disrupted jobs. Cars replaced carriages. Computers replaced typewriters. But new jobs always emerge. The key is adapting.
Are we saying everyone needs to learn to code AI now?
Not necessarily, but understanding the basics of AI, how these models work, what they can and can't do, that's going to be so valuable, whatever you do in tech.
It's like a new literacy, right? Back then it was reading and writing. Now it's this AI language.
Exactly. And as these models become more, woven into our lives, understanding that is going to be key, not just for coders, for designers, product managers, entrepreneurs, even artists. AI is going to touch everything.
Wow. So instead of being scared of the robot takeover, we should be figuring out how to work with these tools, how to make amazing things.
Exactly. We can redefine what it even means to be a coder. Push the boundaries of what's possible. Imagine software that's more efficient, more accessible, more personal than ever.
That's a pretty optimistic view.
Well, I am an optimist. But I also believe that with great power comes great responsibility, right? We can't forget about the potential downsides, the unintended consequences.
Like bias. If these models are trained on code that humans wrote, which can be flawed, doesn't that mean they could inherit those flaws?
Definitely a valid concern. And the AI community is working on it. There's tons of research on how to reduce bias in AI systems, make sure the code they make is fair, equitable.
So it's a work in progress, but at least people are aware of it.
Exactly. And that awareness is so important. It's on all of us, developers, users, policymakers, to talk about this, make sure AI is used ethically.
Right. So we have these amazing tools, but we need to be thinking about the big picture, the impact, the ethics.
It's a balancing act, needs collaboration, open conversations, and a willingness to adapt as we go.
Well said. So we've talked about the big picture, the good and the bad, but let's get practical for our listener, right? Someone sitting there listening, taking it all in. What does this mean for them?
Here's the thing. This isn't some far-off future. Offline AI coding is here. right now, and it's only going to get more powerful, more accessible. So the question is, what can you do to prepare for this new coding world?
Okay, so we've talked about the big picture of offline AI coding, the potential, the challenges, all that. But let's get practical. What can you actually do to get ready for this AI-powered future?
Well, first off, don't be intimidated. You don't have to become an AI expert like tomorrow. It's more about taking small steps, understanding this tech, how it can affect your world, whether you're a coder, a student, or just curious about the future of tech.
Okay, so where do you even start? Any resources for someone who wants to, like, dip their toes in?
The cool thing is, a lot of this stuff is open source. So many models are just out there, free, waiting for you to play with them. GitHub's a great place to start. You can find the source code for a lot of these models, even the ones we used in our little coding battle.
So you're saying if you know your way around a command line, you can actually download and run these things on your own computer.
Exactly. And if you want something a little more user-friendly, there's platforms like Hugging Face. It's fantastic for all things AI. Explore models, experiment in your browser, even share your own stuff with the community.
Like a playground for AI, huh?
Yeah, exactly. And the best part, you don't need a supercomputer to get started. You can mess around with these models on a laptop, see what they can do.
I bet some people are thinking, okay, I'm interested, but how do I even learn about this stuff? It can feel pretty overwhelming.
I get that. But there are tons of resources for every level, beginner to expert, online courses, tutorials, blog posts, even YouTube channels breaking down AI, making it easy for everyone.
So you don't need a PhD to get started.
Nope, not at all. A good starting point is the basics of machine learning and natural language processing. Once you get those, you can start looking at specific models, techniques for AI coding.
And there's always the power of community, right? Forums, groups, meetups, connecting with other AI folks.
Oh, absolutely. It's a really active community, growing all the time, full of people who are passionate about this stuff.
That's awesome. Okay, so you've done your homework, played with some models, you get the basics. Now what? How do you use these tools to actually build something real?
Well, that's where it gets really fun. We're already seeing people use AI coding assistants for all sorts of things. Automating boring tasks, generating code for specific functions, even helping with debugging and testing.
So we're talking more than just snake games now.
Oh yeah, way more. These tools have the potential to change how we build all software. Web dev, mobile apps, even stuff like data analysis and scientific research.
As these models get more powerful, easier to use, who knows what we'll be able to make.
That's the exciting part. The possibilities are endless.
Okay, gotta address the elephant in the room. Jobs. Lots of folks are worried AI is going to take over coding, leave human programmers in the dust. What do you say to that?
Take a deep breath. Don't panic. It's understandable to be worried. Every big tech change has brought anxieties, disruptions. But if we look back, those changes always led to new opportunities, new jobs, new ways of working.
So instead of fearing AI, think about how to thrive in this new world.
Exactly. These AI coding assistants, they're tools. They're here to help us, not replace us. Learn to use them well, become what I call an AI-powered coder.
An AI-powered coder, huh? What does that even look like? What skills do you need?
Of course, you still need those solid coding fundamentals,
Right.
but you also need to be adaptable, a quick learner, and comfortable with these new tools.
So the new kind of coding literacy, right?
Yep.
Understanding the language of AI, how to work with these models, how to guide them to get the results you want.
Yeah, exactly. And beyond the technical stuff, you'll always need those core human skills: creativity, problem solving, critical thinking, communication.
Those are the things that make us human. AI can't do that. Not yet, at least.
Exactly. It's those human skills plus the power of AI that will really shape the future of coding.
So to wrap it all up, the coding world is changing, AI is leading the charge. But instead of being afraid, let's be curious, willing to learn, and committed to using this tech responsibly, ethically.
I love that.
Right.
The future of coding is bright and full of possibilities.
Couldn't agree more. And on that note, that's a wrap on our deep dive into the world of offline AI coding. Hope you found it interesting, thought-provoking, maybe even got you a little excited about the future.
Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep being creative. The future of tech is in your hands.